everybody. I want to talk a little bit about how our learning modules are set up as well as that first assignment. Remember, to get to the learning modules page, we just want to click on the left and click on learning modules. It'll take you to this page, and then you can pick and choose which module you want to access. Remember to make sure that we read our course syllabus first, so you have to read the course syllabus before you're allowed to access our modules. So make sure that you've read it and then click review, and these pages will open up for you. Then click on the module that you would like to access, and it's going to open it up in a new window for you. And this is kind of what our MindEdge environment looks like. Over here on the left, we do have a drop-down menu so that you can kind of pick and choose which chapter you would like to go to. It's also going to clearly indicate which ungraded and graded activities there are. Some of our modules have several ungraded activities. However, I strongly encourage you to do all of the activities that are presented, because they are invaluable support to the content that we are exploring, as well as supporting that final paper that we are working towards. Especially the class discussion mixer in this learning module, it's very valuable for us to kind of get to know each other a little bit. So I do encourage you to participate in that as well. Over here on the right, you have a couple different options. You can go back home, you can search for specific things, you can even change how your page looks as well. If we scroll down a little bit, we can kind of get to the content. If you would, there's my fan, prefer more straightforward, like to print it out and kind of write on it, that's what I do. You can click on download this module in PDF format, and then you'll be able to have a PDF version of everything that is indicated here. On the first page, gives you a little bit of information about what we will be exploring, and then it also tells you the exact items that will be graded as well. Remember, for all of our graded activities, we do have rubrics that explain the critical elements, which we'll go over in just a couple minutes too. To navigate through your MindEdge activities, you just scroll through, click next, and then here we can start participating in what some of you have. Awesome. Our discussion class mixer. It's not a mixture. Well, I guess it's a mixture of us, right? Class mixer. To add a new thread, just click new thread, and then you'll be able to type a response to our prompt. And then click next, and it'll take you to our next reading bit and activity. Scroll down, read it as you will. Sometimes we'll have videos that you can just hit play. If you don't want to watch the video, you can view the transcript. Please do not just skip over this multimedia activity, because there is some valuable information and insight in all of the videos and content available here. If we scroll down, it mentions opposing viewpoints. Remember, in our persuasive paper and our persuasive arguments, we do want to acknowledge the opposing viewpoints. So throughout the term, we will kind of talk about the opposing viewpoints. Additionally, we're going to be using a database called Opposing Viewpoints to kind of support our research as well. Okay, so kind of scroll through, preview your content, hit next, and this is kind of how you go through MindEdge, right? Now we have our first graded activity, Persuasion in Everyday Life. I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. This is a graded discussion, which means you do have to post your initial response to the prompt by Thursday, 11:59. Okay, 11:59 p.m. And for the first week, all of our assignments are due Eastern Time. After this first week, they're going to be available in your own personal time zone. Okay. We do need to reply to at least 2 other students throughout the rest of the week. So I encourage you to post early in the week, but definitely post by Thursday, and then make sure you reply to at least 2 other students by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. So what exactly will we be writing for this discussion board? We want to think about a time in our life, past, current, somewhere, where you had to try and persuade somebody of something. For me, maybe I would make a comment about how I'm trying to persuade people that Futurama and Firefly are the best shows ever. Or maybe I'm trying to persuade somebody to give the book Outlander a try. Or maybe at work I was trying to persuade somebody that this policy needed to be changed. Think about something in your life where you were trying to persuade somebody. You don't have to have been successful in this attempt, but we want to talk about some point where we try to persuade somebody of something else. Okay, and I always encourage you to check out the discussion rubrics, check out the discussions for all of our assignments, and I'm actually going to kind of take you through the journal discussion form, so I'm not going to do so for the discussion rubric. Make sure that you do review to make sure we're hitting all of those critical elements of our assignments. Okay. After we thought about that moment for a little bit, I want you to write 2 developed paragraphs. To get full credit, you need to have 2 developed paragraphs. Remember, here at SNHU, our paragraphs need to be between 5 and 8 sentences. A single sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences even, is not a paragraph. So make sure that you're writing 5 to 8 sentences per paragraph. So if you're a numbers person, we need to have a minimum of 10 sentences and 2 paragraphs here, okay? In that first paragraph, or in the first section, we want to make sure that we are kind of describing that moment. Tell us about it. Bring us into that moment so that we can see it. In that second paragraph, explain why you felt that moment of persuasion was successful or not successful. What strategies or techniques did you use to try to get that person to side with you? Remember, persuasion is a type of arguing. It's a type of argument. It is not the act of getting in a fight. It's not the act of arguing. It is a type of argument to convince somebody. It's not standing on that soapbox saying, no, you're wrong. Okay, so think about a moment where you tried to persuade someone, and then let's talk about why it was successful or not. And then after you post that, read through your peers' posts and then reply to at least 2 of them with 1 fully developed paragraph. And remember, a paragraph is 5 to 8 sentences. Okay? And then we can kind of go through the rest of MindEdge and what activities we have in here. We're going to be talking about free writing, brainstorming, looping. There's a couple of activities in here. And in our announcements, we will talk a bit more about free writing and brainstorming and the importance of those. Okay. Then we hit next. And it's going to take us to our next activity. And this is an ungraded activity, but remember, I encourage you to do both the graded and ungraded activities. In this activity, we are doing a free write activity. And the thing about free writing is you just sit down and you write. It's a form of brainstorming that helps get what's in here onto our screen or onto our paper. Okay, so think about a problem. And just, talk about, like, maybe we start with our career. I'm an English teacher, so I'm going to start thinking about a problem in my career. It could be how slang, like text lingo and slang, LOL and UR and that kind of stuff is appearing in students' papers. So maybe that's a problem that I can explore. So I'm going to just start writing any of my thoughts that might be about my career or about any problems that I see, anything like that. It's not a draft. Nobody's judging you. You just get your thoughts out, brainstorm. And I strongly encourage you to go ahead and do one of these activities. Another good brainstorming activity is what we call clustering. They're those word bubbles that we've seen before, where you write a main idea, say English, and then you draw a line and you start connecting to those other ideas, okay? Take the time to actively brainstorm, because from this brainstorming we are going to craft a journal that's going to present 2 problems that we are interested in exploring for our persuasive paper. All of our assignments kind of build upon the previous one, so let's make sure that we do the activities to support and scaffold our progress throughout this term. The next page takes us to our actual first non-discussion board graded activity. Okay? Now that we spent some time brainstorming, we really want to kind of focus on 2 potential problems for that persuasive paper. Now there's a little bit of criteria for these problems. They need to have 2 clear sides to the problem. So say I'm exploring how text lingo is appearing in papers. I'm saying that it's wrong, it's not academically correct. The opposing side could be that that's the way that language is going, and yes, it is correct. Okay, so we want to have 2 opposing sides to our problem. We need to be able to research this. Remember, we're not standing on a soapbox just spouting out how we're right and the world is wrong. We need to be able to research our potential problems. And if you have a topic and you're not sure if it's going to be something that is researchable, let me know. Maybe let's post a discussion board in the general discussion forum and talk about how yes or no this will be researched. In my day job, I am a librarian and I do research for a living. I support students with their research for these types of papers. So never hesitate to ask me if you have any questions at all about the research side of our paper. And then the third criteria is that we need to have it related to our career or our degree. Okay, so make sure there's 2 logical sides, it's researchable, and it's related to your career. Then in our journal, we want to write a fully developed paragraph for each problem. Remember, our paragraphs need to be 5 to 8 sentences each, explaining both sides. How is it going to be an argument? Explaining how you want to approach your project. What side of that argument are you going to take? And why are you personally interested in this? Remember, it needs to be related to your field. So why is this particular problem something that you're really interested in? And we really do want to select a problem that we're interested in, because that personal interest is going to drive our dedication and our success throughout the term. It's going to keep us interested in it, rather than just picking some random boring problem. Okay, so let's make sure that we're kind of interested in. After exploring the argumentativeness of your problems, remember, paragraph each, we want to make sure that we're thinking about the bigger picture, okay? And then we're going to write 1 to 2 paragraphs that reflect on why it is important that we persuade our audience on this given topic that we're going to be writing about. Why is it important for people to consider your side of this selected topic? Why should they listen to your persuasive argument about it? We also want to consider who our audience is. Okay, now audience is incredibly important. Okay, I'm not the only person in your audience. You guys know that, right? Who's the big picture audience that you're writing for? Yes, you're writing for me and your classmates, but who else out there in the world are you interested in writing? Who do you want to convince? Who do you want to persuade? Maybe it's going to be people in your field. Maybe it's going to be students in your field. Maybe it's your fellow coworkers. Who else are you writing for? Okay. And remember, we want to be relatively specific in our journal, because this is the information that's going to guide our whole persuasive project in the coming weeks, okay? And then here's a handy little checklist to make sure that we are doing everything that we need to be doing for this first assignment. In your first paragraph, 5 to 8 sentences, explain 2 sides of the first issue, your approach, and why you're interested in the topic. In your second paragraph, you're going to do the same thing for a second potential topic, okay? And then in the third and fourth paragraph, remember, our paragraphs need to be a minimum of 5 sentences, to about 8 sentences or so. In the third and fourth paragraph, explain the importance of persuasion on the topic that you're most likely interested in writing about. So you're going to present 2 topics, and then you're going to kind of focus in on one of them in your third and fourth paragraph. Explain why it's important for people to consider your side, indicate who your audience is, and explain why it's important to convince them that your perspective, that your view is best. Okay. As you work on this journal, remember to refer both back to this checklist, but also to the rubric, which I'll show you in just a minute. Now, this is going to be an assignment that we do submit in Blackboard, so make sure that you go over to Blackboard when you're ready to submit it, type it in there. You can upload a Word document, and then hit submit in Blackboard. If you have any questions with that, let me know and I'll be happy to clarify. We want to take a quick look at our rubric for all of our assignments. And remember that the guidelines in MindEdge and the guidelines presented in the rubric work together to support your success. So we want to connect with both of those perspectives on any given assignment. And our rubric is going to give you a little bit of an overview of what the assignment needs to be. It's going to kind of bold the important things. We want to have 2 potential problems. We really, really, really want to be writing developed paragraphs that are a minimum of 5 sentences. Like, this is a big thing. Let's make sure that we are writing good, constructive paragraphs to support what we're trying to say. Okay. As a reminder, you're going to be exploring 2 potential problems, talking about why each is argument, what's the argument there, why you're interested, how are you going to, what side are you going to be in that argument, do you agree or disagree, that kind of thing. And then after exploring those 2 problems, you're going to further explore. You're going to focus in on one of those 2 problems and say why it's important. Why do you need to convince your audience and who your audience is? And these are our critical elements. And this is really the key to your level of success with a given assignment. Look at the critical elements in the rubric, and it's going to tell you exactly what level of success you are going to hit. Okay, for example, when I'm grading, I'm going to look at your potential problem 1. That's going to be your first paragraph. Okay, and say you want to get an exemplary grade, you want to get 100% on that specific critical element. So we look at exemplary here, and it says we have to meet proficient criteria, and on top of the proficient criteria, we need to provide additional rich, engaging details and reflections on that potential problem. So to get an exemplary grade, we've got to at least meet the proficient. So let's take a look at what the proficient is saying. For potential problem 1, that's our first paragraph, we want to identify the first potential problem that has clear 2 sides, is researchable, and is related to the student's career or degree. Okay, so if you give me a paragraph that says what that first problem is, tell me what the 2 sides are, explain that it's researchable, and how it's related to your degree, you're going to get proficient. If you add more details, you're going to get exemplary. Okay, so that's how cool a critical element breakdown in our rubric is. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to hit your level of success that you're striving for. Okay, remember we want to have 2 problems, so let's look at potential problem 2. Same deal, give us that second potential problem. What are the 2 clear sides? Is it researchable? Is it related to your career or degree? Remember, we will also be discussing the importance of persuasion. We need to indicate clearly who our audience is, and remember that I am not the only person in your audience. Who else are you talking to? And remember that you kind of want to also discuss why it's important to convince that specific audience of your side of the problem. Okay, and then we always have what we call articulation of response. And what this is does your organization, does your format, do your citations, when we're getting to a point to use citations, does your grammar, is that all pretty spot on, or are we having some concerns that need to be addressed? Okay, so before you sit down to write any assignment, let's make sure that we're looking at a rubric and also the information in MindEdge, and use those 2 resources together to make one amazing draft. Okay, so that's kind of a long-winded perspective of Module 1 as well as our first couple assignments. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to let me know, and we'll work together to support your success. Good luck. You don't need luck. You totally got this.